Good morning mga katribu and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk. I am Aldrin Cardona.
Morning, Aldrin.
Morning, Chito.
And we have a guest. We have two guests. Joining us today are the Panga brothers. Both are public servants and members of the Upsilon Sigma Pi fraternity of the University of the Philippines. They serve as tourism attache. Sir Gerry Panga serves as tourism attache to the United Kingdom, and
Mr. Theo, yeah.
The Director General for Policy and Planning of the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. Good morning, sirs.
Magandang umaga din.
Magandang umaga.
Baka magtaka yung ating mga viewers. Magkamukha si Sir Gerry at si Sir Theo.
Nga ako eh.
Kambal po sila. Ayan.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat.
At ito yung kambal na pag tinignan mo, ang gaang kagad ng umaga mo dahil lagi silang nakangiti.
Nakangiti.
Yes.
Magandang umaga po, Mr. Gerry and Theo.
Bigyan natin ang ating mga viewers ng konting background. No? Si Sir Gerry has been in the travel and tourism industry for 30 years. Tama po ba, sir? More than?
Almost 30 years. 29 years now, yes.
Wow. Ayan. Si Sir Theo naman ay...
He has been with the PESA for so long.
23 years
23
actually.
years.
And you look like you're in your 30s. Mas ano sila, younger looking sila kasi sa atin. Mukhang mas mahirap ang trabaho sa media.
Mas stressful sa media.
Si Sir Gerry, nagtrabaho din sa Philippine Department of Tourism, Tourism Promotions Board. He worked in the hotel business and currently he's in the United Kingdom, no? And director for Northern and Southern Europe. Sir, hindi po namin masyadong gamay yung ganyang trabaho kasi ang nakakausap natin dito yung mga secretaries, undersecretaries ng mga kabinete natin. Pero ito, yung inyong trabaho, kayo yung talagang on the ground. Tama po ba, Sir Gerry?
Yes, on the ground representing the Philippine Department of Tourism in Europe. So, parang isipin natin yung Department of Tourism under the leadership of Secretary Bernard Romulo Puyat, dinala natin sa UK, and I'm the representative of the government handling tourism investments, promotions, not only in the UK but covering the bigger cluster of Northern and Southern Europe. So kasama ng Scandinavia, down to Italy, Spain, Portugal. Kasama na din pati Israel and Turkey under my jurisdiction. So ganun kalawak yung trabaho natin dito sa Europe.
Grabe. Ang daming trabaho nito. So, Chito.
Gaano po ba ang recovery pace ngayon ng mga... Kasi before, Aldrin, before tayo po nag-air, pinapaliwanag na ni Mr. Gerry Panga yung recovery period sa UK. Ngayon, it would be good to know kung if the tourist arrivals in the Philippines would be returning to normal. In terms of the UK, I mean.
Yes. Actually, buong global markets affected ng pandemic. As high as 70 to 80% merong decline in arrivals. But the good thing, yung international community naman did not stop or doesn't want to be beaten by the pandemic. So, katulad natin, 1 year na tayo naghahanda in terms of product preparations, pati yung mga economic assistance sa mga tourism frontliners. In fact, bago magtapos ang taon, lahat ng mga tourism workers, yung makikita mo sa restaurant, sa airport, sa hotels, lahat yan fully vaccinated by 100%. So, ito yung part ng paghahanda natin for our eventual reopening. But ahead of that, I'm just happy to announce that we are hosting the Global Summit of the World Travel and Tourism Council. That's live po yan in person in March 2022. So this is a big event for us. So hopefully after that, makabukas na tayo ng tuluyan.
Okay, sir. How late or how advanced are we in terms of reopening sa ating tourism? Kasi nakita namin, no, just the past 2 weeks, I think Thailand and Vietnam have announced that they are going to reopen certain parts of their tourist spots. Tayo naman, we have opened tourism sa local, no? But ito naman, paano ang preparasyon na ginagawa natin pagdating sa mga foreigners who would like to, go back to their normal lives, visit places like the Philippines? Paano tayo tinitingnan ng mga European countries pagdating dito sa aspetong to?
Yes. Well, ang una, wala talagang mas advanced or late kasi unprecedented yung pandemic.
Yes.
Wala talagang tamang paghahanda. But tayo, mas conservative tayo for the more than 1.5 years. Ang ang strategy natin is to make sure that we are strong and protected from within. So only then we can be able to service the incoming foreigners. Pero as it is, allowed yung lahat ng overseas Filipinos, including their foreign dependents o yung immediate family members from spouse to children. So technically, including yung mga qualified businessmen with qualified visa. So nagsiservice na tayo ng mga foreigners papasok ng Philippines. Pero ang sinasabi natin that bago tayo magbukas, we have to make sure na handa yung mga facilities natin at ideally, ma-increase din yung herd immunity natin. So ang ginawa natin sa tourism, we had to make sure na pag nagbukas na tayo, dumagsa na mga turista, lahat na makikita nila, fully vaccinated 100%. So it should be the least of their worries. And I'd like to say also that we are a subscriber of the WTC, that's the World Travel and Tourism Council, Safe Travel Stamp. That's the global standard in giving services pertaining to health and safety. So kasama tayo dyan. So just to show to everyone that we are also of global standard in terms of our health and safety protection for our travelers.
So, tuloy pa rin yung it's more fun in the Philippines. Kasi
tuloy,
active
but it's more fun and safer in the Philippines.
Ayan, may dagdag. It's more fun and safer in the Philippines.
Yung pagbalik ng turista medyo makakabuhay sa ekonomiya Di ba? So lilipat tayo ngayon sa iyong mirror image, si Mr. Theo. Si Sir Theo. Business ang usapan dito. Mas importanteng aspeto ng buhay natin ang business.
Tsaka yung business talaga ang magdadala sa recovery.
Recovery, yes.
Mr. Theo, marami kayong projects sa PESA. There are, I've read some articles about the trust of PESA. More on agriculture and new industries. How successful are you now in attracting such investments?
Thank you. Thank you, Chito, for that question. Actually, yung PESA ho, nasa hanay kami ng investment promotions, but somehow we complement DOT because we also attract investments into tourism facilities. But overall, PESA is the biggest eco-zone authority, and what we do is we promote investments into the economic zones nationwide so that we can generate jobs, exports, and other economic opportunities for the Filipinos and the Philippines in general. So I'm glad to share with our audience today that we have surpassed actually the survival mode, and we are on our way to recovery. In fact, many economists are saying that we are poised to recover in 2021, and they're having even a stronger projected growth for 2022. Sa PESA mismo, if you've read yung UNCTAD report, ang sinasabi in 2020, this was last year, there was a negative contraction in FDI into ASEAN. But surprisingly, in the Philippines, we even registered positive growth in FDI. I'm talking about yung foreign investments investing in the Philippines, foreign investors at that. So sa peso ho, naka 23% pa kami in 2020. And in 2021, I'm looking at the figures now. It's all positive for investments, even employment and exports. So it means that yung continued confidence ng mga investors natin patuloy po yan. In fact, some of them are already projecting a 5 to 15% annual growth rate despite the pandemic. So we're into different industries. Agri is one of them, and we are strongly promoting that because agri has not been doing very well. And the only way really to propel agriculture is when we attract more investments in the agri sector. But ang talagang bread and butter natin are the IT and manufacturing. In IT, we continue to be bullish with its annual 10% growth rate. Marami pa rin po ang namumuhunan ng mga IT companies. We're not just known as the voice center of the world. We're slowly being recognized also as one or top two in terms of non-voice. In manufacturing, we host to the most sophisticated na mga electronics companies. These are the top Fortune 500, not just in electronics, even automotive. So under the leadership of DG Plaza, Chito Plaza, we have ventured into different types or new types of economic zones. So marami po tayong programa, and it's because of these programs and continued trust of our investors that somehow PEZA contributes to keeping the economy afloat even at this time of pandemic.
Wala naman nung nag-withdraw during the period, yung emergency period, the health crisis. Wala mga businesses na...
Well, wala naman. Somehow they're able to survive. Yung pre-pandemic, because of yung China and the US trade war, may ilan-ilan na lumipat to. But slowly, we're trying to recover because yung mga companies naman in China who are now shifting out their production into ASEAN, we are happy to note that some of these are transferring and relocating in the Philippines through the economic zones under PEZA.
May ship po ba sa yung mga locators? I mean, those that are coming in. Like Taiwan, I suppose there are more Taiwanese who are looking at the economic zone location here in the country.
Well, tama po yan. In fact, recently, we just had a global biz, yung investment promotion sa seminar namin with MECO Chairman Fernandez. And in that forum, we have received a number of interests from Taiwanese companies. Hindi lang po ito yung nasa China ngayon, but even those that are operating in Taiwan now, because Taiwan happens to be a big source of technology, emerging technology, and they're one of the topmost investors in the Philippines.
Okay. Babalik naman ako kay Sir Gerry. Sir Gerry, you mentioned earlier about the inoculation program of the Department of Tourism sa mga tourism workers. Kasama ba doon sa programa yung involved sa transport sector, sa other services? Dahil ano yan dikit-dikit yan It's not just one, no? So, nakikita naman natin kasi ngayon yung progress ng ating inoculation program, yung buong bansa, but especially in Metro Manila, dahil dito talaga kumalat yung Delta variant. But how vast is the reach of this inoculation program? Ma-assure ba natin na by next year, maganda na talaga yung ating gains para bumalik na talaga yung mga turista rito, sir?
Well, I cannot answer for the whole government vaccination program. So, ahead of that, inuunahan na natin sila sa possible concerns ng travelers. So, as I mentioned, sinabi mo yung mga gym, lahat ng lahat ng mga indirectly or directly involved sa tourism business. He could be a gym instructor but part of the hotel facility. Kahit nga ang sinabi nga ni Secretary Berna, kahit yung mga mangingisda sa mga islands, basta merong involvement sa tourism, kasama na rin namin. And we go beyond that. In fact, nagsasubsidize kami ng RT-PCR testing for those domestic travelers going to open areas. And in fact, sa Philippines, kagaya ng Boracay, low or zero COVID case, Siargao, El Nido, Bohol, marami naman bukas. And we encourage these local travelers to go out and experience our new and more prepared destinations. And pati yung RT-PCR testing nila, kasama dyan. And we always talk about that this is all part of our preparations for our reopening, for the real thing. And I'd like to emphasize that even before we formally reopen, mayroong mga global surveys, nagtatanong sila ano yung aspirational destinations mo. And ang Philippines continues to get all these awards na based on global survey. For example, yung Condé Nast Travel Magazine, it's the #1 travel magazine in the world. And they were asked kung ano yung pinaka-best islands in Asia. Out of 10, 3 yung pumasok sa Philippines. #1 yung Siargao, pangatlo yung Palawan, at isa pa yung Boracay. And pati ngayon, ang London-based World Travel Awards, nag-conduct din sila ng survey. And ang Philippines naman is Asia's leading destination for beach and also Asia's leading destination for dive. So all these are done beyond us. And this just encourages us to really be excited and ready for our reopening, hopefully sooner. And I'd like to mention also out of UK, we are organizing the biggest yacht racing in the world in February 2022 in Subic, involving more than 200 racing participants from all over Europe and America. And in fact, yung 70 racing yachts naka-moor na dyan sa Subic, ready for the big action in February 2022. So ito yung pagpapakita lang na handa na tayo sana, and bilisan na lang yung country vaccination natin at pwede na tayong sumabay.
Before we go to a commercial, isa pang question, Sir Gerry. You mentioned about the recognitions that we're getting, but the other countries would be also competing with us.
Yes, doing the same.
They're doing the same, no? So how are we doing now in terms of showing our friends in the UK and in Southern Europe that we are more prepared and we have the better tourist spots, we have the better preparation to welcome you back? Paano natin gagawin yon?
Well, first, we compete but we also complement. And ang strategy natin yun is to remind everyone, before this pandemic, ang Philippines had 15% growth rate. That's one of the highest in the world. And out of UK, #2 ang UK travel to the Philippines in terms of great growth rate. So these things, they don't simply forget. So we try to maintain our market visibility. And when we say we complement, we are actually talking to our Southeast Asian neighbors for travel bubbles. And these are all possibilities na pwedeng tayo mag-cooperate with the likes of Singapore. Sila yung pagdating, entry gateway sila for all the metropolitan and city experience. But pagdating naman sa nature, Philippines yan. So same with Hong Kong. So yan ang ano ngayon. The world is getting smaller with all these pandemic challenges. But certainly, with our more than 7,600 island offerings, we will surely be a standout in Southeast Asia.
Yun, babalikan natin yun.
Babalikan natin.
Sir, kailangan lang nating mag-commercial.
Getting a good
Pag-usapan ulit
picture
natin yan.
of the recovery period.
Yes.
Okay.
Ko-commercial po muna tayo. We will be back with Straight Talk. Yes.
Boto mo to, Halalan 2022, The Daily Tribune Special Coverage.
Katribo, narito na ang mga makakasama nyo tuwing umaga sa programang Gising Na. Roy Pelovelo, Compi Manalo, Atty. Lia Badillo Crisostomo, Vernon Velasco, Kim Sancha at Chirk Balagtas. Abangan ang programang Gising Na mula alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga sa Facebook page ng Daily Tribune.
Ilabas na ang mainit na kape at samahan kami sa inyong pag-almusal, mga katribo.
Sama-sama natin alamin ang mga natatagong istorya sa mga latest na kaganapan sa loob at labas ng bansa.
Simulan natin ang bawat umaga with good vibes sa mga informative and recreational segments ng aming programa.
Maaari niyo rin ibahagi sa amin ang inyong opinion via Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now sa YouTube.
Makichika na rin sa latest showbiz happenings, mga katribo.
Kaya naman, magkita-kita po tayo mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga at magsama-sama po tayo sa
Gising na!
Boto mo to, Halalan 2022, The Daily Tribune Special Coverage.
We are back, Aldrin.
Yeah, we're
That's
back.
our Mr. Gerry and Theo Panga. So,
No, mali tayo. We would like to apologize to our guests.
why?
Ang pronunciation pala ng kanilang
okay.
pangalan ay Panga.
Panga. So, sorry about that.
Sorry po, mga sirs. Pero sa ibang regions, ang Panga yata, ang ibig sabihin ay love. Mas gumanda pa yung pangalan ng ating mga guests.
Pag-ibig.
Pag-ibig, yes.
So,
Babalik tayo kay Sir Gerry kanina. Papa-expound
That's a
natin.
very
Konti lang.
interesting,
Yung tourism bubble.
concept.
Ang mangyayari, magtutulong-tulong. Yes, sir.
Chito, pwede lang ako mag-quick rejoinder doon sa vaccination.
Sige po,
kasi
Sir
bago
Theo.
natin
Sige po.
lampasan,
Sige po.
kasi I think it's important that I share this also with our audience. Kasi it may appear that we are quite slow with our vaccination, which is 22% currently. But the upside to it is we're also being prudent and deliberate with our vaccination strategy. Kasi we are focusing it more on yung mga essential, highly essential at yung mga high-risk areas.
Yes.
So in the case of ecozones o sa PEZA mismo, so we really fought for yung inclusion of the ecozone workers being part of the backbone because they contribute to the economy reopening especially. So from A6 naging A4 po sila, and we're happy that the national government, the LGUs are cooperating well with us so that yung mga ecozone workers natin, most of them are already vaccinated. So malaking bagay po ito para sa patuloy na pag-operate, especially ng mga export-oriented nating industries. Salamat.
Yes, nakaka-relate po kami dyan, Sir Theo, kasi yung mga balita na pumapasok sa Daily Tribune, mga past 2 and 3 months, nababanggit yung sa mga economic zone areas dahil kailangang aktibo yung programa doon sa mga mas matao at sa mga ang tawag dito economic areas like yung Metro Manila. Ganun talaga hindi pwedeng ikakalat mo tas hindi naman talagang focused yung programa. Katulad nga yung nabanggit natin kanina, tourism, yung PEZA, halos related din, investments. So, papaliwanag natin muna kay Sir Gerry yung tungkol dun sa tourism bubble. Na naging interesado kami dahil hindi lang pala Pilipinas, magandang concept na magsasama-sama yung mga bansa. Tama po ba pagkakaintindi namin sa Southeast Asia man lang or Asia? Paano po ba ito tatakbo?
Well, we think of it as a bubble, parang may kukung ka na safe ka from the other elements. So yun yung idea, we co-promote with other countries that have the same more or less setup. Kung gaya, kunyari, i-promote natin yung Boracay na zero or very low COVID case, i-prepare natin for example sa Singapore, like I said, magiging, kunyari for all long haul or short haul travelers, ang Singapore for example will be the entry gateway for the city experience, lahat ng shopping, lahat ng mga city delights. But yung the rest of the leg of the travel, which is for nature, which is for all the landscapes, tayo dapat ang Philippines ang kapartner niyan. And in the same manner, for example, we did flight bubble with Taiwan na nag-open tayo and we accepted flights during the height of pandemic. We allowed that kasi point-to-point naman from Taipei to Subic. So along these lines, we are now trying to use this formula in promoting what we call travel clusters. For example, point to point from isang area going to Boracay o Bohol, basta dire-diretso, di ka dadaan sa isang problematic area, then there's you will be allowed to travel. And that's the idea of travel bubble. And hindi lang yun. Kasama na rin yung what we call yung interoperability ng because we now use yung mga COVID credentials, yung COVID passport. As long as accepted just a system, then it will make it easier and convenient for the travelers to be processed accordingly. Yung kasi kiniklear ka kung fully vaccinated ka, do you need RT-PCR testing? And ang Philippines naman, sa part natin, we've been relaxing already. Sinasabi natin na if you're coming from a green country and fully vaccinated ka, no need for quarantine facility, quarantine. So, diretso ka na sa bahay mo and just monitor yourself kung meron kang mga symptoms or nararamdaman. Otherwise, wala na pong quarantine facility for arriving Filipinos coming from green countries na fully vaccinated.
So, anong benefit? I just want to delve into it more deeper, no? Ano benefit sa, kunyari, I go to the bubble within the region. I suppose sa ASEAN, no, Gerry? Yung bubble.
Yes.
And if I'm a traveler, how should I benefit from being in the bubble?
Well, first, magbe-benefit ka kasi allowed ka lang mag-open kung nasa bubble ka. Meaning, ma-encourage mo or ma-challenge mo yung ibang mga destinations to really observe all the proper protocols so that mabawasan yung infection cases and be part of the bubble or what we call yung local herd immunity. So katulad ng El Nido, yung mga yan, Siargao, ready sila and in fact open sila for domestic travel. So that's the idea of forming a bubble na safe and convenient with the same LGU application of restrictions or yung mga travel requirements. Then kaya kayo nagpo-form ng bubble. And the same manner, we will expand this to include also other foreign countries. And ito na nga yung start ng bubble testing natin. Meron tayong yacht racing na dinadala sa Subic, nagka-quarantine sa barko, magpapatakbo ng yacht racing na nasa dagat, safe, and at the same time bringing in massive tourism expenditures, benefiting the local host community.
Related lahat, dahil sinabi ni Sir Gerry yung direct flight, from, tama ba? Taiwan to Subic. Ang tourism can also bring in investments dahil ang mga turista, sila yung mga investor. So, ililipat natin ngayon. Sir Theo, gaano ba ka-related? Bukod sa kabal kayo, bukod sa magkapatid kayo, related din pala yun yung mga trabaho ngayon. So, paano ngayon tayo mag-generate ng more investments through this program? Meron po ba tayong mga bagong mga investments na papasok, especially now that we are slowly reopening?
Yeah, actually, we have the same concept for yung bubble, kasi what we do is we're making the eco zones safe haven for investments. So once you have these safe havens for investments where locators can freely operate and are functional so that they're able to meet their export commitments, what we do is to try to connect these safe havens. So we create pockets of development all over the country, and you would imagine the impact on the economy once you have these connections, connectivity, and you create the bigger value chain so that you stimulate not just the export industry but including the local economy. So we have the same concept. This is the reason why since day one, the government has allowed the continued operations of our locator companies. And we are proud to say that, as I mentioned earlier, that we have contributed significantly to keeping the economy afloat. So we have the same concept. So ganito po yan. Because of the economists are saying that we are now on our road to recovery, we have to be ready for the upturn, which is going to happen in 2022.
Correct.
So lahat ng mga investment credit ratings are saying that we might be achieving yung pre-pandemic level of performance natin. So it's important that the government is ready to host this influx of investments So we have to be ready for the new normal, including our transition to digital transformation. So in our case, it was a blessing that because of these restrictions, we went into digital transformation. Like for example, yung digital payment, yung online payment system. So that yung mga companies namin need not physically come to the office to transact and make payments. Sa ngayon, they can do it via online and online payment. So ito yung mga contactless pathways. Ang daming industry applications dyan. And we hope that we can bring on board the other agencies as we promote our EcoZone program. Mangyari po, hindi namin to kaya lahat, and we are relying on our valued investment promotion partners, our partner agencies, so that together we can grow not just the EcoZones, but if we look at the bigger picture, it's really bringing in more investments so that we can provide jobs to our Filipinos.
Are there new economic zones in the pipeline, Theo?
Well, actually, marami pa po, but some of these are pending with the Office of the President. We're hoping that since the CREATE law is already in place, including the guidelines, we will now push for the aggressive development of economic zones. So once ma-proclaim po ito, only then they can invite locators to come in. So it's a must that we grow these eco zones, because in the process of doing that, we're able to accelerate as well countryside development. Kasi PESA lang po ang may mandato na mag-create ng economic zone sa buong bansa. So in every economic zone that we create, it becomes in itself an eco zone value chain. And with that, even yung estado ng mga LGUs, in terms of social progress, economic development, naiaangat din po. And yung mga various studies would indicate that yung mga LGUs natin hosting economic zones are the ones doing well and are performing in terms of economic development.
How about the Panga brothers? Nagkikita-kita pa ba kayo? Kasi pandemic, then mahirap magkaroon ng reunions.
Binabasa ko yung kanilang background. Silang dalawa, kambal. Parang, sabi ko, dalawang anak, parang inalay ng pamilya sa public service. Service. Parang ito na ho ang sa inyo, public service. Pero hindi lang pala sila. Ilan po ba kayong magkakapatid, sir? Sa Panga family, ang nasa public service.
Walo tayo, no? Walo tapos 5 yatang public service. Pero just to add to that, yung fully integrated yung economic zone sa tourism program natin. In fact, just to give a story, para na din kay Chairman Fernandez, I brought one time a group of Taiwanese investors to Baguio. Si Theo nung yung economic zone administrator. So they were looking at Baguio both as a tourism and investment opportunity for them. So, dinala ko yung mga Taiwanese investors sa economic zone. Pagdating namin dun sa administrator's room, sabi ko, sandali lang, papasok ako at kukunin ko yung administrator. Tapos paglabas, si Tiyong lumabas, nakaibang, nakabarong. Tapos manghang-mangha yung mga Taiwanese investors. Magic! Di nila alam na may kambal. So that was the icebreaker. Enjoy sila. Talagang isa sa mga highlight ng nila, investment trip nila, yung sa Baguio.
Nung nakita kayong kambal.
Naisip siguro na, magkakamukha pala talaga mga Pilipino.
Kasi iba yung suit ko eh. Paglabas ko, nakabarong na ko. Sabi nila magic daw eh.
Ano ba to? Pinlano nyo ba yan? It just happened? Paano po ba kayo napunta sa public service?
Well, if I may answer that, yung our being with government, Gerry mentioned that we're 5 of us. I think on board with us also is our brother from the US, si Benson. He's also with the federal government in the US, so that makes us 6 in government. 5 in the Philippines, 1 in the US. Is largely influenced by our parents actually, kasi matagal lang nanilbihan sa gobyerno yung magulang namin. Yung nanay namin was a long time public school teacher until her retirement. and more so with our dad, 40 years in the prosecution and judiciary, and he is also an educator. So naturally, because of this, I would say admiration also for our parents, because long career in government, unblemished record at that, somehow inspired us to also pursue work in government.
Okay, I'd like to add also to that we are now enjoying our discussion, but just to assure everyone that we are not an overnight government success. Both of us have more than 20 years. Pati yung kuya namin sa Solgen, si Assistant Solgen Gerry Panga, more than 20 years investing our career and time and effort. But of course, we'd love to say that we are grateful and have been given opportunity along this way. Patient, career pathing, but very grateful and fulfilled.
Mahirap din yung
government service.
Mahirap ang pag-angat dahil simula pa lang, no? Believe ako dahil sabi nyo, ang inyong mother ay teacher. She really raised you well because kayo ay mga UP students. Tama? And then you became part of the Upsilon fraternity. Hindi basta napapasok yan, by invitation only. Tama po ba ang aming researchers?
Well, tama po yan. Animo kami pinag-aral lahat sa UP. Pinagsikapan na mapag-aral kami sa magandang school. But, in government, if I may speak for my case in PEZA, we are a government corporation, and pretty much like in the private sector, everyone else really would have to chart their own destiny and create opportunities for advancement. So luckily for us brothers in government, we were able to achieve this quite early in our stage of our career in government. Mangyari, just to share with you, sa gobyerno kasi, unang-una, kung gusto mo maging division chief, kailangan may master's degree ka. Kung kailangan mo umangat to a higher position, kailangan din may SESO ka or SES eligibility. So but it's not all about credentials. More equally and important, critical at that is yung performance mo. Kasi magaling ka pero wala ka namang performance, wala kang teamwork, walang tiwala ang boss mo sa iyo. So I don't think we would have achieved our current position at the moment.
Correct. Hard work.
Hard work is very important, of course.
Yan ang investment doon, hard work.
Pero nabanggit nila, sir, 6 kayo na nag-aral sa UP. Lahat po ba kayo inimbitahan ng Upsilon para maging member?
Siguro si Gerry kasi magandang na-feature actually ito sa Diaryo. Siguro si Gerry mas magandang storyteller to kung paano pa kami napunta sa Upsilon.
Well, first, planned at the minimum, we wanted to join a fraternity. Pero just to share with you, I was actually the first to join ahead of my siblings. So, siguro 1 week or 2 weeks, nauna na akong process as a neophyte ng Upsilon Sigma Phi. Tapos, it so happened na si Theo, palakad-lakad papuntang library, na timingan siya ng mga brads. So, thinking that he was the neophyte Gerry. So, hindi na pinapakawalan si Theo. He had to helplessly free himself and show his ID na hindi ako si Gerry, ako si Theo. So, yung mga brads nun, kinumpel si Theo na pasalin mo yung hindi ka namin papasukin. So, it turned out, pagsali ni Theo, kasama na rin yung kuya namin kasi sa break nun Pag umuwi kami sa probinsya na wala kaming tatlo, magagalit yung dad namin, yung ginagawa namin. So, sabay-sabay na kami and the rest was history, making us the rare 3-in-1 sibling batchmates in a fraternity. So, yun naman, pati
the original 3-in-1.
It's a very prestigious but a group of like-minded and very capable and professional fraternity brothers. Kahit sa government, marami ring kaming kasama sa government. It makes our job easier but at the same time a bit more a challenge. Kasi hindi lang yung prestige but also to be responsible in how you carry the fraternity through thick and thin and whether somebody's watching or not. So the code really is integrity, and professionalism.
So para kayong sila Remulla brothers ay mga ganyan.
Yeah. Actually, classmate ko yan si Governor John Vic. We were together in UP. Ang lang namin, ang kakaiba ho namin, somehow it's quite a feat in the fraternity because una, 3 kaming sumali sabay-sabay, and then 2 years later, sumama yung kapatid namin from the US, si Benson. And then 30 years later, nagkaroon ako ng anak na kambal din. So, nasalin ko yung genes ko, nagkaroon ako ng kambal. And para bang repeat nung nangyari sa amin in 1986, 30 years later, itong kambal ko, when they were in UPLB, together with their first cousin, anak ni Justice Eric, sabay-sabay din sila sumama. So, kami lang yata ang dalawang sets of twins. Tapos, 7 ho kami sa ngayon. I think 5 more are raring to be part of the tradition
5
also.
more.
Yes.
Iniisip ko lang yung anak niyo, sir, na ano ba tawag sa'yo? Dad o Brad?
Well, parehas. Pero pag sa bahay naman, dad pa rin ang tawag.
Okay. Maganda na. Masayang usapan to.
Sa big family pa.
Pero yung aming staff, sinenyasan kami, kailangan namin mag-commercial.
Okay, so we'll be back.
Babalik po kami sa Straight Talk.
Straight Talk.
Boto mo to, Halalan 2022, The Daily Tribune Special Coverage. Boto mo to, Halalan 2022, The Daily Tribune Special Coverage.
Nagbabalik po ang Straight Talk dito sa Daily Tribune.
So we're having a light moment here to ask our two guests. Okay lang ba kayo? Game questions to eh.
Hindi naman po namin kayo
pipilitin.
Huhubaran sa publiko.
So we want to start. Who's most likely between you to stay late at work? Between brothers,
the two of you,
or the Panga brothers.
Well, I think si Gerry ho yan. Kasi ako, as much as possible, kung makauwi na rin ako sa bahay, well, it's most likely Gerry because of his nature, yung nature ng work niya. Yeah.
Well, heavy yung functions namin ng mga diplomatic reception. Pero it's more of a case na late ang tulog or early gising kasi yung time difference, 7 hours ang time gap natin with the Philippines. So gaya ngayon, 3 o'clock, gising na yung mga kasamahan ko sa opisina, pero ako, trabaho na ng konti, tulog, gising ulit. So, ganun.
So, mas marami palang function si Sir Gerry kesa kay Sir Theo. So, related itong second question natin.
Oo. Alam ko na sagot dito.
Who's likely to get drunk after work?
Parehas. Tabla.
It's a tie. Ayan. Chito.
Pero most likely si Gerry kasi sa
mas
diplomatic
maraming functions May mga wine toasting dyan sa ganyan events
Hindi na siguro drunk.
Ang importante, malasing muna sila bago kami.
Tama.
Ganun ang strategy. So number 3, who's likely to get lost driving to a new place? Sinong medyo
naliligaw.
Pag nagda-drive.
May GPS na ngayon kaya bira ng maligaw. Pero siguro mas expose ako sa yung going to new places kasi yung part ng work ko Pag punta sa iba-ibang bansa, mahirap din. So kailangan research in advance. So, kasi hindi ka pwedeng mawala pag may mga meeting. So, kailangan anticipated mo na yung travel movements.
So, you're not in one place
sa post.
Sa post, like you can move around sa region, the European region.
Exactly, yes.
So, who's likely to spend money on something that is not important?
Si Theo yan.
Ibinuko si Sir Theo.
Hobby-wise, I think mas marami yata akong hobbies.
Pero pareho yata silang musician, so baka ang binibili nito puro musical instruments.
Well, ako mismo I invest in musical instruments and the audiophile. But si Gerry naman is into diving, so magastos din yan. And golf. Pero yan naman ang wala sa akin.
Pupunta ako sa bahay mo, titingnan ko yung mga collection mo, ha?
Yeah.
Audio files.
Ito.
Ay, yung mga ano yan, record.
Hindi ko alam. Si Sir Theo.
Yes, LPs, tama.
LPs na vinyl.
Yes, correct.
Pareho tayo ng hobby.
So, another question. Who's most likely to make hasty decisions?
Gerry. O yata yan
Ayaw mag-admit.
Ano yun?
Hasty
decisions.
Well, kami yung kailangan na agile and quick to the draw. Pag may opportunity, kailangan grab mo kaagad kasi hindi mo alam kung kailan ka mabibigyan ng chance ulit. So, dito sa post, ang daming ganyang situations na kailangan yung call ng moment, dapat tamang decision. Yes.
Ito, sana. Ang wish ko sana nanonood yung mga asawa ninyo kasi medyo controversial itong tanong na to. Hindi ko kami ang gumawa nito. Yung staff ng Tribune ang gumawa nito kaya nagulat din kami at pinapatanong ito. When you were younger, sino sa inyo yung maraming na-date na girls?
Si Theo yan.
Mabilis si Mr. Gerry.
Patas lang.
Quick to the draw nga, sabi niya. Quick to the draw.
Ayan, si Theo yan. Minsan nga, nagkakamali pa yung isa niya. Napagkamalan ako. So, yan ang problema namin.
Paano nyo nare-resolve yun?
Oo nga.
Did it come to a time na nag-aaway kayo? So, kasi
nag-aaway kami ni Theo ng bata kami. Kasi fierce rivals kami. Pero kung meron isang golden rule, hindi kami magtawagan ng pangit kasi susuntukan kami, nag-aaway, pero bawal magtawagan ng pangit.
Tama.
Hindi ba kayo nagkaroon ng pagkakataon na manligaw o magkaroon ng girlfriend? Nakambal din?
Wala naman.
Walang ganon.
Pero I think may nangyari din na we fell for the same girl.
Kasi sabi na ang kambal parang isa lang no? Isa lang yung kanilang taste, di ba? Ganon din ba sa inyo?
Halos
ganon.
Ang pagkakaiba lang, Aldrin and Chito, ito from work experience na to kasi I would say yung twin brother ko si Gerry is the more sociable. So, yung nakaka-interact niya, iba-iba, lalo na sa tourism industry. And hindi lang once, but on many occasions, I would encounter yung some ladies, alam mo yung nagbebeso-beso, hindi naman ako sanay sa ganyan So, most of the time, napagkakamalan din ako si Gerry. So, nangyayari yan
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Isa pa akong question. May dumating ba na time na ang isa sa inyo ay, kunyari si Sir Gerry nagpanggap na si Sir Theo or si Sir Theo nagpanggap na si Sir Gerry?
Intentional
Sa China yata nangyari yan sa Shanghai. Kwento mo, Gerry, kung ano nangyari.
Ako yung guilty. Basta napagkamalan ako si Theo, so pinangatawanan ko na. Hindi naniniwala, nakakambal ako
Kala joke.
Maganda yun Ang sarap pahabain ng discussion na to. This is the first time that we've had guests na ganito yung conversation. Tama? Very light. But we have to end this program. I hope that there will be another set or there another time that we will interview them. Masarap silang kakwentuhan.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today, Sir Gerry, Sir Theo Panga, and for sharing your story with us. We enjoyed this morning.
Of course. We're very happy to have you. Thank you so much. It's been a delight to have you in the show. Watch Straight Talk live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. on Daily Tribune's official Facebook page and on Tribune Now on YouTube for the replay of this very exciting edition.
Yes. So ako po si Aldrin Cardona.
And I'm Chito Lozada.
At salamat po sa inyong panonood ng Straight Talk with Daily Tribune.